Again, I wanted to welcome everybody to our May webinar, Find Your Digital Voice. We are excited to be here at the offices of Ideas Clyde in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we welcome Matthew Clyde and his team, the folks behind the presentation today. And again, we are very excited to welcome you all. So just a few housekeeping details before we begin. I always like to go over if you are experiencing any sound or speed quality issues. The first few steps that you want to take for sound is to make sure that you have your computer at the appropriate level. Sometimes just making sure that that's adjusted will fix that problem. And then any speed quality issues, we always say just close any other windows or tabs that you may have open and just keep the webinar open. This will help to increase the speed quality as well. Any severe issues, I wanted to remind everybody that we are recording this session as stated in the emails that you've gotten for this webinar. So we will be sending out the recorded version to all registrants afterwards. It probably takes about a day or so just to fully process, and then we'll send that out to you as well. And we're going to keep the Q&A, question and answer, at the very end. So there is a chat box at the bottom of your screen that you see. It's a little chat area. I've already started a couple of conversations there, but you can go ahead and type your questions in there when we announce the Q&A session. And I also went ahead and posted the social media handle for Matthew Clyde. So it's just at Matthew Clyde if you would like to follow him on his social media accounts as well. So we, again, are very excited to welcome Matthew Clyde and to introduce this dynamic leader. Over his diverse career, Matthew Clyde has worked in Fortune 500 organizations, small startups, prestigious New York agencies, and in 2005, Matt launched Ideas Clyde, which serves clients worldwide, including such brands as Intel, Vitamin Water, and Best Western International. Locally, his agency runs campaigns for Child's Play, Avnet, and the Arizona Super Bowl host committee. In 2013, the Business Journal named Matthew to the 40 under 40 list of influential business leaders in Phoenix, and the HSMAI recognized him on their list of top 25 minds in sales and marketing. Matthew is also the board chair of Phoenix's Valley Young Professionals Group. So again, we are very excited to have him hosting our May webinar. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Matt.
Great. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Good morning, and hope you're having a great day so far. We want to make sure you get value and great information out of this webinar and information. So if you are interested in getting the materials, you can work with Local First and we can send those out to you. So you don't have to get too crazy with note taking. I want to make sure you really can absorb the content and then process it, take notes around ways that you can implement some of these ideas and strategies, and then we can give you more of the slides if you're interested, so you can reference back or look at them in more detail. Also just want to say hello, and we're very excited to always be a part of the Local First organization and the Local First movement. And so we are very committed to Local First. That's why we always want to make sure that we're building a stronger local Arizona as a whole, and are excited to be sharing this content and information with you today. Kendall mentioned Ideas Collide, the agency I founded. A lot of the content that we will be presenting out today is from some of the client work that we've done, and even though we work with a lot of big brands, we are also great in working with startups, new businesses, helping them get off the ground and building momentum behind their marketing, and have worked with a lot of local small brands and businesses here as well that we'll be giving some examples from so that can resonate. So there'll be some big picture things, some case studies and different approaches that you may have not have considered in your marketing efforts, and especially focusing on the digital aspect. And we just want to say thank you also for your time, because we know that your time is very valuable as you're building your business and growing your business. and thank you for doing that. Kendall mentioned my handle and how you can contact me. Here's the full listing of the various places where you can find me via our agency handle, via Twitter, my own personal handle, or via email. Feel free to reach out if you need any other follow-up. Today we will be learning and sharing a variety of things focused on simple but effective digital marketing strategies. The first of those is really how to build a smart marketing plan, some ingredients of that plan. And we'll be looking at some of the basics, and sometimes we think that's important just to go back to the fundamentals, because when you skip the fundamentals, then the other pieces don't really work as well and it becomes more complicated. So we're going to talk about some fundamentals to always build in your marketing strategies. We'll be talking about how to create your brand's voice and personality, and we'll developing content that cuts through the clutter, giving some recommendations and ideas around that, and how you can better capture your message visually through effective storytelling. So that starting point of making that marketing plan work and how to build that right effective marketing plan, a lot of times when we are taking on marketing and trying to sell and improve our business, especially through channels like digital channels that we might not be as familiar with, or you may be familiar with, no matter where you're at in the capability of marketing, it sometimes can feel like this. This is a big set of Legos. I'm a big Lego fan. Love to sit down with my kids and build out Legos. But sometimes when you open up a box or you open up a big bin of Legos, it feels a little overwhelming because there's so many choices, but there's so many possibilities of what you can do to create. And we see marketing, and especially in the digital space, that changes so quickly, that is always adapting to new technology and new fundamentals of how to run that technology in the platforms. It can feel a little bit overwhelming in how you can take all these different pieces and create something meaningful, impactful, yet simple. And in knowing that, it really goes back to why most Lego sets come with that instruction manual. And we sometimes just like to skip that part of the process, because especially in marketing, we think like, well, I can just, I can, put out this offer, I can put out this message. And what we're really not capturing is how to build the step-by-step, the simple way to create something that's going to have meaning and impact, and something that you're proud of in the end. So it does take that preparation, it takes that time, and what we do often step back and say is it's about that preparation. That's why we love this quote that Abraham Lincoln said, that if he had 8 hours to chop down a tree, he would spend 6 sharpening my axe. So the preparation in anything is what's key and vital. And we'll be talking about that a lot, because to be really effective and to make this more simple, it requires preparation. And that's where you're also going to find your opportunities. Is by preparing, you're going to find the opportunities for success and know how to navigate some of these channels and the way you want to deliver your message. The other goal that we have here is to avoid random acts of marketing as well. So as we prepare for those opportunities and we put in the time and investment to plan, we can avoid the random acts of marketing that often we feel frustrated by, or we might feel like, oh, this isn't working, and we quickly abandon it. So part of the process today is to have a solid plan that you can work from. And it goes back to those fundamentals of any type of business that is running has to have that plan in place. So your plan, especially in working in the digital space, is to have very clearly set objectives, know who your customer is and how to build a message to reach that customer and tie your brand, your story to that customer and to your product and service, to identify the channels that you want to work in and how to deliver those messages through those channels, and then what tactics you will use to deliver that message. So if you're working in Instagram versus Facebook, you may have different tactics and different approaches and messages for each one of those channels. Building out a timeline of when these things will run and being prepared for that. And then the ongoing management optimization and looking at the results and adjustments that come with that. And that's one thing also to call out, is that we want to make sure that your your investment in these digital channels also comes with the ability to manage it, run it. So know your resources as well, and know what you're capable of if you're doing it yourself, or if you have somebody that's doing it on staff or as an intern, however you've structured it. As you build or you start to build your plan, make sure you're looking at those resources as well that are going to help you manage it on an ongoing basis and keep it running. Part of this marketing planning too is being part scientist and part artist. It balances both. And that's probably the trickiest part, is knowing when to dial up the science and the data and look at the results and what the data is telling you. But also knowing how to balance with the art and the artist of creating beautiful imagery, creating a story that really has emotional impact, or creating an offer that people will respond to because it has that great balance of art and science. And we'll talk about some strategies and give some case studies around how to balance both of these. Being a visual person that I am, I like to build out plans that have visual icons that help map to where I'm going. And so on this slide here, you can see this is really where you can build an effective digital marketing campaign by looking at these core elements. And at the very top here, we have really your value proposition, which is your story, your brand story, what makes you unique and different in the mind of the customer. And then right next to it is the customer segments, the audiences that you reach and who you serve. And so it doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit, if you're a small business, if you are a service provider versus a retail store, whatever you provide, everybody needs to know clear story, their value proposition, and the customer segments that they're reaching with those messages. And that's where we're going to start first, is looking at those two big buckets. And then we'll get down into some more around building customer relationships, building strategic partnerships, and then how to use the channels. So whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it may be in the digital space, how to use those to deliver your message. Part of that is an essential process, again, of art and science. And so visually, we are always looking at how to tell a compelling story, especially in a space where you're competing for so much attention and focus. And with that, we are always looking at how we take the visual and make it come to life with the data that we have. And we'll give some examples around this in creating and balancing the art and science of everything that we do. And this is kind of set up for where we're going to go here and discuss today, so you can start to see how you build these visual assets and tie them to a message and a data point to make impact in your marketing effort. So it again goes back to knowing your value proposition, knowing your customer, and then delivering to those. When we start to really need to make that art and science work and work for you, some of the best questions you can ask as you're starting to build out this plan and start to build out your customer value proposition and your segments is to look at, again, what you have in context to where you're at, what you have to work with. Knowing that up front can help define what you can focus your time on. You might not want to take on every social media channel if you're smaller and have a very limited resource or limited staff, or if it's just you. If you really run well in those channels and you know you can, hey, I can do this because I'm very seasoned in working in these channels, then you know what your resources are, and be honest with that. Because your time frame and what you have to work with is what's going to be able to shape the story and the messages that you deliver. Also asking what data points that you can use to garner and better know my customer. Always looking for that data is going to be of value, and that's how, again, how you can balance the art and science of this work. And then how can I build and develop a different point of view? What's unique or different that's singular to you that nobody else can do? And you might come up with things you're like, well, no, everybody has that. So you have to keep digging deeper to find that different point of view that can be very compelling in your messaging via digital channels. As we start to really get into building your story and some examples of that story, we do want to share a few more basic tools that can help you with some simple steps to success in how you work and build this plan. And it goes back to one of those first questions that I just showed you, which is how you can collect the data. And every detail point matters. It's not only numbers, but it's opinions, it's instincts, it's intentions. And we have a lot of this at our fingertips, no matter the business that we are. It's either talking to our existing customers, it's sending out an email or a survey to get feedback. It can be done through the tools that you have in your social media. So if you're already working in Facebook, you already have Facebook Insights that can tell you who your customer is, what the demographics look like, or who you want to reach in the future. So being able to pull from those is really going to be a value as you build your plans, as you want to identify that. When you go through this process, sometimes you might be surprised to find out, wow, I've got a lot more women that are connecting with me in social, or a certain age group that I was not aware of. Why are they interested in my product? Why are they interested in my service? That data can maybe help you define your strategy. Also, the time of day that maybe they are looking at your content, or when you're posting your content, will impact your strategy. So start to gather all this data, these points of reference, can help build that intention to be able to deliver the right message to the right customer. I'm also a big believer in taking time to do a SWOT analysis. I'm sure as local business owners, you've done this before, but do it with your marketing as well. It can be of great value to identify what are my strengths, where are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities and threats, and build action plans around these from a digital standpoint. Knowing your strengths and clearly having those defined is going to help you know some of the content and the messaging you want to be delivering in a digital channel, or in an email, or in a Facebook post. Knowing your opportunities and being able to scout those can help you connect with the right people, maybe in LinkedIn, or to be participating with some type of digital forum out there that you want to be a part of. Identifying those opportunities, again, the planning, the preparation are going to help you avoid those random acts of marketing. Knowing your threats, knowing your weaknesses also helps shape what your content may be, where you want to be developing new opportunities, what messages you need to be serving so that your strengths are coming out loud and clear to better resonate with your potential customers and existing customers. So again, this is all setup work, preparation work to be able to get into the nuts and bolts of running some of your digital campaigns. So as you build that SWOT analysis, it's going to help you and guide you to build ideas, solutions, approaches, opportunities. All of this will help build and define your plan going forward. It also will help you be able to extract the right data, because interestingly enough, you might find out, from data and secondary research that's out there, how you can maybe build new opportunities in certain channels that you weren't aware of. So using that data across your planning is going to be of value in your ongoing efforts in the digital space. So if we look at this plan and really look at how you're going to build and understand clearly your value proposition and get clear about it and make it reach your customer segments by using digital marketing, we also need to understand the landscape of today. And today's digital marketing world is really about micro moments and building micro moments. These micro moments occur when people act on a need to learn something, do something, discover something, watch something, or buy something. They often happen on a mobile device or a tablet, because we're always on the go now. We move quickly. There's a lot happening, a lot of things competing for our attention. So these micro moments often are intent-rich moments when decisions are made and preferences are shaped. And in these moments, consumers' expectations are higher than ever, and consumers expect brands, businesses, nonprofits, service providers, whatever you offer, to address those needs with real-time relevance. So it doesn't matter the size of business. Often the consumer of today is expecting that need to learn, do, discover, watch, or buy something through micro moments. And what you want to be able to do in the digital space is to be there in those moments for your customer. And I hope this plays well. We might have a slight delay in how it's presenting out. But this video that we're showing captures all these micro moments that we experience experience and how they can connect to your customer and your product and service. So let's just watch this for a minute to really capture visually what we mean by the micro moment. So this is not just about search. Obviously, it ends with the Google aspect to this. What they're really advocating, connecting a product and a service to the moment of when the consumer is looking for it. So some takeaways here that are broad but applicable to everyone who's running a product, service, and brand, wants to connect digitally more to our consumers and grow our businesses, is we have to be there. And we have to know where our customers are and when they may connect with us in those moments. And have, again, a plan of when you can be there for that customer. We need to be useful. We have to create meaningful experiences based on context for them. So if they're coming to our website, if they're using social media, if they're sending us an email, we're giving them and building useful information for what they're searching for. So that's making sure that not only are we thinking about what's our social media strategy or what's our social media content, but how does it connect back to what we are on our website or on our blog, whatever it may be, and making sure that those are becoming more and more seamless and connected as much as possible. We have to be quick and responsive and understand the need in the moment to be able to capture the customer and to be able to bring them in. I know a lot of dog sitting services actually and dog trainers use a lot of digital tools to be able to capture that moment, that micro moment. So you just adopted a new puppy, you're walking out of the pet adoption center, and what are they doing? They're going to their phone, they're searching pet trainers, and how can you be part of that conversation in that moment? That happens by making sure you have your website really up to speed on all aspects of digital so that you're making that connection, you're being able to respond to them. And some people have it set up, for some of these small businesses, they list a phone number that can send a text message to somebody that can respond to it immediately so that they make that customer connection. So it's being quick and responsive in that moment. And being a connector. What's great and powerful about local small businesses is we are connectors. We know we know our community, we know our environments, we know how to better reach customers so we can be those connectors. So it's not just thinking about how we connect them to our businesses, but how we connect across multiple screens, experiences, so it's more seamless to get the information or to purchase the product that they're looking for. All of this is elevating the customer experience because we have to look at the customer journey. So as we build these plans, the customer journey is very important to understand where your customer is at when they interact with you and your product and service. So as you build that, you have to think about awareness, familiarity, consideration. These are the paths that the customer takes to make that purchase and to get to the loyalty factor so that they're coming back again and again for your product and service. A lot of the digital work that you do may start with awareness. Social media may be awareness. It may get them familiar. It may help them understand that you have certain products in your store or in your website or for the service that you provide. And as you build those and get more and more familiar, you help them with consideration, then help push them into channels, either whether it's brick and mortar, getting them to come into the store through digital efforts, or purchasing through your website, whatever it may be, to start that customer journey with them. Now, the new customer journey decision process is not linear, though. This looks at a very linear process, but we have to think of it, all these different channels, all these different digital spaces require us to think very nonlinear. So as you're starting to decide, well, this is the customer and who they are and what they look like, you have to then take and think about where are they going to find out about you and how can you make sure that you have presence there, especially in the digital space when they're searching for your product or service. And all of this, as we think about that nonlinear aspect and the nonlinear pieces of the journey, is we are competing for the mind share of the customer, competing against a lot of different aspects, a lot of distractions that are out there, and that competition is becoming more fierce because, and this is a great quote and data point that is being used a lot now in a lot of digital marketing, is that the consumer's average attention span is down to 6 to 8 seconds, which is a second less than a goldfish. So we have some very tough competition to be more bite-sized, more concise, and direct in our digital marketing efforts and across all of our efforts in marketing to really capture the attention of the customer. So that requires us, again, to look at how do I build a great value proposition and how do I make sure it resonates with my customer. Your brand story, again, is about that awareness, building familiarity. That's where it starts from. And having that really concise and clear is important. The question is your story still in paperback? Is it long? Is it very text heavy? Does it tell a rich story? Does it tell a vibrant visual story? And most of us know our brand stories pretty clearly. We know why we started a business. We know why we provide something, we're passionate about it. So we may just have to back up and go, how can I make my story more visual? How can I make it more of a micro moment, concise? How can I get it down to 3 to 4 word sound bites? It doesn't mean that it just has to be 4 words, but sound bites. There might be 3 key points that you want to make sure are clear in your brand story and in your product and service and what you offer, but make sure they're very concise, each one, in these 3 to 4 word sound bites. Know what you do well, know your purpose behind it, and then start to work to get it down to those 3 to 4 words. And I'll show you some examples of how this is done. Because there is power in your story. The power of your story is what's going to really help connect you. And it's often we hear when we work with people, it's like, oh, I can meet these relationships in person and I make great connections as I network, and that creates power in my story, but how do I do it digitally? And the way you do it digitally is you bring it to life visually. Now, your brand story is the why. It's the emotional appeal behind your company, service, and product. It communicates the essence of why your brand is in business, and it ties to what you are known for. It connects your offering to something meaningful for you and your customer. So as we look at this, we're going to give you some examples of some focused storytelling and how you break down what you know, and as you answer those why questions and the communication of what your brand is about, and how you tie it back to something for what it's known for, that focused storytelling and getting to those sound bites, as we call them, are going to be really important, because then you'll take the sound bites and make ways to bring it to life visually in the digital landscape. The best way to show this to you is just from our own story of Ideas Collide and how we've built this out for our own business. Ideas Collide is a marketing agency that builds custom solutions. But at our heart and core, we are a business that is about love, loving our team, loving the work, and loving the customer. And through that, we really have a philosophy that you can't love your life if you don't love your work. And that is the core essence of how the brand was started, was to build an organization around the love of work, being passionate about work, loving the team that was working, making sure that the work delivered was exciting and amazing, and in turn showing customer love and love to our community through give back in all aspects. Now, in able to have this mindset in our organization, it means that we also have to have a lot of empathy. So one of our key selling points when we talk to customers is that we're an agency that's been in your shoes. And what we use this for is to show we have empathy and understanding in building custom marketing solutions for you. We have team members that have done it firsthand on their side, on a business side of it, that then can relate and make it of meaning back for the customer that they're serving. So we are an agency that's been in your shoes. And having that empathy and mindset also allows us to build solid relationships so that we are an extension of your marketing team. And being an extension of your marketing team means that we really understand the business needs and purpose of what you're trying to achieve so that we in turn can make custom-made marketing solutions. So again, you can see here there's very simple sound bites. Each one of these is a clear message. There's a story behind each one that gets you to how and what we provide. And then we make this come to life through visual assets digitally, through video, through a lot of content in our digital marketing efforts. Now this is just one example, and it's a good example because it helps you understand, like maybe as a service provider, how you can make this work for you. Maybe as an accounting firm or whatever you provide, there's ways to really deliver and get down to those 3 to 4 phrases or sentence words, 3 to 4 words in a sentence that really can communicate what you're about and how you provide something unique to your customer. Again, it's that art and science and bringing it together. And part of that is about balancing the emotional with the logical. To really connect with the customer on their journey, we have to say, how does your product and service and marketing become more relevant, valuable, and personalized, and balance the emotional with the logical? Now, often people will get into jumping immediately into the channel. They think about, okay, here are my 3 or 4 points I really want to get out. These are the messages I want to deliver. But then we have to step back and go, how is it relevant? How can it be valuable? And how can it be more personalized? And then they want to jump right into the channels. They want to just jump right into delivering that message. But I would advise to step back again and think about that the content is not what is social. Platforms are not social. People are social. And so we don't want to forget that in our digital marketing efforts as well. We still want an exchange of ideas, inspirations, interests, hopes, opportunities. That's why there's power in social media and in the digital channels, because what you're really trying to connect to is ideas, inspirations, interests, hopes, and opportunities, no matter what business that you are running. So we want to make sure that your story, your product and message, those key to 3 to 4 words that you're going to build out that tell your brand story, has great emotion to it and inspires action, because emotion is what inspires action and gets us to resonate with something. And the power of your story really comes back to that the things we buy, the decisions we make, how we spend our time, all of that is governed and influenced by the story that we tell. So building a compelling story and tying that to your brand has power and action in it. Some of the favorite brands that you may have and why you go and shop there, or why you go and experience their product or service, or why you give to a nonprofit, it often comes back to the emotional appeal to it and the story that is tied to it. So as you are building out those 3 to 4 words, as you're defining your story and writing it out, think about the emotional aspect, the personal aspect. Why you founded it, why you changed something, what were you trying to disrupt, or what were you trying to do? And make sure that those are influencing your message and those 3 to 4 words that you're using to help with the sound bites around your business. The other aspect of great stories and making them come to life digitally is the storytelling rule of make me care and then I will share. And the case study of this really comes from Dan's Eyes and Dairy. This is a client that we work with. They're a local dairy farm here in Levine, and they have built a business over the last 3 to 4 years that was very much about disrupting and building a story about a product that people would care about, so that then they would want to share about it. And so for Dan Zeisen, their message, they started out with what the core element of what they want to do. So they have a paragraph that describes it, which is Dan Zeisen is a local family-run dairy farm with over 50 years in Phoenix, Arizona, and the first local dairy to offer glass bottles to grocers within the Arizona market. Dan Zeisen Dairy offers the freshest, best-tasting milk direct from the farm to your local grocer. Now that's the long form. That's the core essence of their story. But then we start to drill it down more and what they're about and what their values are. Now, their product is very tied to the dairy industry and cows, and so we take care of our cows. The cows take care of us. This is their philosophy. It's the most important element of success for Dan Zeisen Dairy. And values such as freshness, family, and integrity translate into an authentic, local quality product. So in defining the story and building it with them, there was a lot of conversations and a lot of write-outs of the story. And these two elements, the last two that we showed, were two paragraphs that really were core to the build-out. But then we really wanted to hone in on what is the key message? What is the most important message in all of this? Not just the supporting messages, but the key message that we want people to remember and to own in the mind of the customer. And it really came down to being this idea of delivered farm fresh and the freshest milk possible. So for them, this is in everything that they do now. This message, this story, the idea of the freshest milk possible, delivered farm fresh to your grocer, is the core essence of their story. Now there's a great compelling detail behind the glass bottles. There's this richness of visuals that help further tell the story, but all goes back to delivering the freshest milk possible. Now, they started again knowing what their value proposition is, who their customer was. That was at the core beginning of what they built. And then they got to what their core message was. And then from there, they were able to build out all the rich stories that then came to life in the digital landscape to build that relationship with the customer digitally so that then the customer in the physical world, in the brick and mortar space, be advocates, and they could go and want to buy this product and share the product in a very powerful way. And to capture this, so the core of what they built, they spent a lot of time for months just building and crafting their story and getting to the 3-4 key words that describe their product, brand, and service before they did anything else, before they built their logo. And then from there, they were able to build out a rich story of visuals that became that storytelling to life, bringing it to life in a meaningful and compelling way. And so to capture this, again, visually, here's a quick video that shows how from beginning to now where they are today, this all came together. So having the value proposition down solid, knowing their customer, they were able to then go to market and really understand how to build a customer relationship, start to build strategic key partners, and then go into the digital channels to tell their story. And they had a very much a social media, digital first strategy to launch with and continue to run that. Now they saying, as you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but in this case, and in the social space, we like to say it's 1,000 points of inspiration, customers, and sales. Getting your story and connecting it to a visual aspect and delivering that in social and digital channels is how you can really bring your product and service to life in a meaningful and compelling, impactful way. In the case of Dan Zeisen, they've been able to take the core of what they do and then have built out a very rich visual story around all these different elements of their brand and service. And they tie it to the holidays, they tie it to recipes. Again, everything is connecting the consumer through a visual element, a visual tapestry of their brand, their product and service, and really emphasizing those key core messages. Freshest milk possible, local, family farm, glass bottles. All of that's kind of reiterated over and over and over again in all of their marketing and messaging. And being able to really have that visual storytelling down, they started to build the audience, their awareness started to grow, they were able to get into more grocers, and then they can continue to build out strategies and building more customer interactions and then using those customers to be their biggest advocates in the social space, and then tying that and building that same opportunity with some key partners. Some examples of how they've done this is now they really love getting customer testimonials and putting those in social, which is a great strategy to further tell your brand story. So you'll see a lot of customers are making comments and then they turn those into visual graphics. I have officially become a milk snob in this case, which is a great statement about anybody's brand and how much they love the product. Or it's addicting deliciously. From non-milk drinker to our third, I've been a non-milk drinker to now our third bottle this week. It's amazing. So all of these are different ways that they're taking content, they're hearing from their customer, and they're bringing it to life visually in the social space and the digital space for their customers. The one here on the right I love too. This is a customer that took bottles of milk with them to Disney and posted and said, hey, we definitely enjoyed having our Dan Zeisen this morning as downtown Disney comes to life. So this shows you that love and connection to their customer and the great way that they've tied their brand, their message to a visual and brought it to life in the digital space. From a partner standpoint, partnerships have been very key to their strategy and growth. So they do this by connecting a lot with local partners that augment their product milk. So they do waffle trucks out at their dairy farm and bring a community together in unique ways. They now have a partnership with the Diamondbacks and the Cardinals to further their brand and reach new customers. So they're doing a lot. Again, these partnerships then become stories in the social space and in the digital space for you in very interesting and compelling ways. They've also partnered to be a local. One of their key words, again, one of their key phrases is local and farm fresh, and that they deliver direct to the grocer locally. And so to also be a local brand, they want to give back to local causes. And so they've partnered with Phoenix Children's Hospital. Again, this helps connect them to a story, and then it becomes a digital story. It also can become a consumer story in the main traditional media standpoint. But again, that then connects back to digital storytelling that you can retell through your social channels. So those partnerships are so important, and they help increase your digital marketing because they too have channels and customers and audiences that you might want to reach in their space. So encourage you to continue to partner with Local First, or find a charity or nonprofit that you're passionate about that connects back to your product and service, and think about how you can connect those in the digital space and how you tell your story. It could be through other organizations, associations, groups. There's cross-promotional opportunities. You can think about complementary services like waffles and milk. Okay, that goes perfectly together. So they contact food trucks all the time and have them out and make those partnerships. How can you do the same for your business? And think about how then you tell the story in the digital space. Partner events and referral programs and incentives. There's multiple ways to do this. The other thing that I love about partnerships is you can also think about who can help tell my story and take it further. And there's many ways out there that we would encourage you to go and find these type of partnerships that can take your story further. And then once it comes to life in the digital space, that is where you really get that make me care and share aspect. I love this example from the downtown Renaissance Hotel, big brand, but they've are featuring a local vendor who is out in the open market and what they offer. So what could you be doing to maybe connect your product to maybe a larger partner, a larger brand that can help tell your story, both digitally and in the physical brick and mortar space as well. Now to close out, I wanted to spend some time now defining your plan and action more in channel specific and looking at videos, targeted ads, social, email, and search. And as you build these out and as you identify the aspects, whether it's working in social and working in search and working in video, whatever you're doing, remember that as you build these, you want to make sure that people remember 10% of what they hear, 20% of what they read, but 80% of what they see. So much like in the case of Dan's Eggs and Dairy, where they built a very rich tapestry of visuals to continue to tell the local and the farm fresh and the bottled milk story, it was all done visually and compelling. And so this is also how we can build authentic emotion to inspire action, like I was talking about. And this is the rise of video and behind the scenes video. That's why it's so powerful today, and why people are doing more and more in Snapchat and in Instagram live videos, because it's capturing the moment. It's bringing to life your brand behind the scenes or in different unique ways. So think about how you can have that different point of view like we talked about at the beginning to tell your brand story further. It can also be playful engagement. Bite-sized multimedia is very powerful in social media. We do this a lot with Dan's Eggs and Dairy. We might take their milk bottles and animate them in a simple GIF. And there are a lot of tools in your hand with a mobile device that allow you to do this. Just go into the App Store, whether you have a Samsung or Android, whichever device you use. You can go into those app stores and you can find video tools that help you animate GIFs, that help you bring to life all the moments in very simple ways, so it doesn't have to feel overwhelming. You don't have to do a big production for that. Live content is big right now too. We saw this in a lot of different, like I was mentioning, with Snapchat, YouTube Live, Instagram Stories. It's capturing the behind-the-scene moment live and in the moment in a compelling and fun way that can tell the story. We do this a lot, even with Dan's Eggs and Dairy. You might think, like, why would they want to post live content? But at their events, when they do events like at the waffle trucks, they have live content feeds, and they get sometimes 3,000 views from those. So you have a film studio right in your hand. You are now the broadcaster. You can create the news. And don't be afraid, this is an experimentation. You might post something live about your brand story, your product and service that may not get only maybe 10 people see it. Maybe it's just your relatives. That's okay. You're going to start to build a digital footprint slowly and over time. They're going to share it. Somebody else is going to find you. So make sure you're willing to experiment and grow these over time. It's about building community. But video is so important. Having online video is going to be responsible for 4/5 of all global internet traffic in the future. So you want to really hone in on that. And being able to deliver video doesn't, again, have to be expensive. It can be simple, minimal budget. Just center it on a big idea or on your main story. One example that we like to share a lot, we do work with Best Western, but it doesn't mean it has to be this huge, big budget. We do YouTube videos for them with packing tips. And we set up one single camera, and we do little packing tips of how you can better travel lightly or how you can use different things, in this case, a contact case to store your lotion simply in your luggage, and we create it in video. So think about how you can bring your story to life further in video moments. Using channels like Facebook is very targeted for digital marketing. You can target by zip code, you can target by your customer segmentation. Going into finding those, it's a matter of doing some simple clicks and finding that, building the right ad and serving that up. We're not going to go into detail of the how to do that, but encourage you to spend time in the insights section of Facebook, or find somebody that knows how to do this that can help you do a very simple campaign. Now we have an example of this that we just recently completed for Heritage Square, where we took only a $500 budget, but we drove this $500 budget to make a big impact for an event they had. This was for an event called Gin and Jazz that just took place a couple weekends ago. And again, we brought the story to life visually. We took and created some great custom photography that told the story of the event. And we created social ads and graphics to enrich the story, to party like it's 1929. But with $500, using that in Facebook, they reached over 70,000 people. So the ad, that some type of content was served up to over 70,000 people. Over 3,000 people clicked on it. It had a very strong 5% click-through rate, and compared to the average was a tremendous impact on their results, which resulted in double attendance at the event over the prior year, just from a $500 investment. So taking this targeted marketing, tying it to your brand message, your story, giving it compelling visuals can really make the difference. And you can see the engagement that they had was phenomenal for a small little event. This is a historic venue in downtown Phoenix, and how they made a powerful impact with that. Now we're about at time. We're going to need to close out here and ask a few questions. But I just want to close it with asking, we often hear, what's the right marketing mix for my business? And it really comes down to knowing your customer, knowing your product and service, knowing your story, mapping those intersection points and the point to path to connect and influence. Again, knowing your resources to be able to reach your customer on their journey and make that meaningful story come to life visually in the digital space. So I thank you for your time today, and want to open it up for questions. And then I'm going to jump ahead to a couple slides that have some key takeaways for you to capture before you close out. So let's see if there's any questions from our attendees today.
Wonderful, thank you, Matt. So yes, once again, we are in the Q&A portion, so if you would like to go ahead and put your question into the chat box area at the bottom of the screen there. We've already had a couple of folks that are on the line here mention that this presentation is very informative, and they're very grateful for all of the information that you've given today. So thank you so much, Matt, for your time. And it really, I want to emphasize that that this does take time, and really understanding who your customer is really the key first step. And if you would like to explore those possibilities further with Ideas Collide, we'll make sure to include all of their contact information and how to get more involved with Ideas Collide as well. So we'll give it a minute here while people are kind of typing in. And again, this is recorded, and we will send this out to everybody afterwards. And that way you can go back and review all of the information as you really start to implement these new ideas into your branding and social media online. It sounds like it's a lot of kind of figuring out personas. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah.
Figuring out who your customer is, and not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel with your branding, but really just extending it to that online platform in really unique ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, so Lisa says, from a public library, any special advice for the government/learning/literacy sector?
Actually, we're doing a lot with government right now, and what a lot of local government, cities and towns are doing right now is they are realizing to be able to be relevant to today's customer, they have to have a digital presence. And they have to inspire the same way that a brand does. And so they are working, and we've been working, we work with the League of Arizona Cities and Towns to build stories for them. And we actually have made the librarians the heroes in that case, in some of those stories that we've built for them, in showing the importance of the municipality services that are part of our daily life and the importance they bring. So from a public library standpoint, being able to remind people the value of information that's in your local libraries is a very important and compelling story. And don't be afraid to experiment. I'm just going to back up here just to answer this question real quickly. That one example of somebody who's taken something you think like, oh, libraries and bookstores, that they're obsolete or nobody's using them anymore because we're all so digital. Look at what maybe local Changing Hands bookstore has done here in the Phoenix market. If you haven't seen it, they just opened up a new space. It has a wine bar in it. It's called First Draft Book Bar. So they're building community and they're building a sense of space, and they're connecting books and the love of books to that sense of space. And then they bring it to life digitally in their social media. And so you can see how they're doing this by creating unique events. So they have actual events, and I've seen libraries do events and post those out, having authors come in, having maybe local authors, having children do a children's writing contest, and bringing that to life in the digital space and inviting people to participate. It's about invitation, inspiration. So I think there's a lot of different things you can be doing. Don't be afraid to experiment, and you're going to see more and more cities doing this. They're seeing the need for it to connect to their customers, because that's where customers are. That's where the public is day to day. So you need to be there with them as well, telling your story and connecting with them.
Wonderful. And now I have a question from Sheila. She asks, do you recommend searching out bloggers in the area and hanging out with them for a while? Seems time intensive, but that's what she keeps being told. So what are your thoughts on bloggers?
Bloggers are very important. Influencers are very important. They're the new, in a way, celebrities in a lot of aspects, and they help in those micro moments that we talked about. They help build. They help you be there. They help you connect. I just say it can be a time intensive. You don't necessarily need to go meet with all of them. Just find one that you feel like may be the first one to connect with, and why they would be right to tell your, help augment and tell your story further. And if you can be able to take your core messages, the key things that you want to reiterate over and over again, and align it with what they're advocating, you can find a really good partnership and connection there. So they're a good way to help further tell your story. They're a good way to grow your audience. And especially if they're local, absolutely see what you can do. But maybe start small, experiment, see how it goes, and grow from there. And remember, you're building a community. You're not necessarily just building a one-time campaign. So think of it as, slow and steady growth is going to be the most impactful.
And I would just like to add one of the key ways that Local First Arizona partners with bloggers. It's more like our Devour event, which is a huge culinary event, but we seek out specific people in the bloggers realm that write about food, write about culture, and we partner with those key types of bloggers because that's really the message and that's the feel of community that we're trying to push out further as well. So Elaine asks, what should you look for when selecting a company to help you with your marketing strategy and defining your digital strategy? So marketing agency over here, what do you like to do when you are working with a client? What would you recommend for Elaine?
I think one thing, it does come down to relationship, and that they really understand your business needs and practice, that they have a sense of what you're trying to accomplish, that they can be an extension of you. You want your marketing team to be an extension of your brand and what you believe in. So that can sometimes take time to find that right partnership. There's great, if you're smaller size, there's great freelancers out there, people that do this, in a very compelling way that doesn't have to be, a heavy budget, that they can do some, simple visuals for you. You build a plan, you have that plan, you have that calendar of your content, and you partner with them to create very specific things that you want from them. So being specific sometimes when you're on a very small budget is important, saying, hey, I only have this much, this is what I need from it, 1, 2, 3, and set those clear expectations for you. That can be of importance. So I think it's really about looking at the relationship, making sure they understand your business needs and can scale with your business and where you're going, and then being very specific in your goals and what you want to accomplish with them.
Wonderful.
Hopefully that helped you.
Definitely. So I think we can wrap it up there. We're just a little after 11, so thank you all for sticking around with us. And again, we will send out this recording, and thank you again to Matthew Clyde and Ideas Collide here in Scottsdale, Arizona for hosting us and presenting this webinar. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we will see you at the next one.